Well, in today's video, we got two of the teams who suck at getting out of the first round. For the longest time, it was the Maple Leafs. It was their staple. But now the Los Angeles Kings and Minnesota Wild cannot get out of the first rounds for the life of them. We'll touch on both the LA Kings and Minnesota Wild in this offseason preview video coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the End-to-End Hockey channel. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe below. Thank you for all of your support. I would never do it without you guys, so if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe down below. Don't forget to comment down in the comment section below so we can all discuss today's video. So in today's video, we've got two of the biggest first round chokers in the LA Kings and the Minnesota Wild. Both of these teams have not been able to get out of the first rounds in over a decade. For the LA Kings, it had been since 2014, the Wild since 2015. The Wild had made the playoffs in 8 of the last 10 years. Well, the Kings, after going through, I think it was like 3 to 5 year rebuild, have made the playoffs in the last 4 seasons. But the Kings have been bounced in the first round against Edmonton each of the last 4 seasons, while the Wild have not made out of the first round, even though they made the playoffs in 8 of the last 10 years. The Wild had a 2-1 series against Vegas, and they gave up 3 straight games to lose that series in 6. The Kings started out 2-0 against the Oilers, but then lost 4 straight to lose that series in 6. So both these two teams lose the series in 6, and for another season are without a first round win. So it's bad right now for both Los Angeles and Minnesota. So we're going to start with the Wild here, talk about how their season went. So in the regular season, they were quite good. They had a very hot start to the season. Wasn't an overly bad start to the season. They started to cool off towards the second half of the season due to the Kaprizov injuries and a whole bunch of injuries they're dealing with. They wound up finishing the season with a 45-30-7 record, so 97 points. First wildcard position, so it wasn't overly bad, and there were only a couple of points behind Colorado for third in the Central, but still, they had a really good start to the season. They couldn't keep it going towards the end of it. Then, like we said, they lost Game 1 against Vegas, but then stunningly won Game 2 and Game 3, and looking like they were actually outplaying Vegas before the Golden Knights won Game 4 in overtime, Game 5 in overtime, and then won in Game 6. Barely to beat the Minnesota Wild. So once again, the Wild had the Knights. Had they beat them in Game 4, they would have had them on the ropes. The Wild just could not wind up putting away the Golden Knights, and they lose in 6 games. So that's the season there for the Minnesota Wild. If you look at their point and goal scoring leaders for the regular and postseason, so if you look at their regular season goal scoring and point scoring leaders, point wise, Boldy led the team with 73 points. Rossi was second with 60. Kaprizov was third with 56. Meanwhile, goal scoring wise, Boldy 27. Kaprizov 25, Rossi 24. So definitely you can see those 3 guys were the offensive drivers, Rossi, Kaprizov, and Boldy, and Kaprizov would have hit the 80, the 90 point plateau, and probably the 40 goal plateau had he been healthy for the entirety of the season. But he was not healthy, a whole bunch of players for that team was not healthy, and that really derailed the chemistry, and because of that, they didn't really have an overly great season offensive wise. And the playoffs was a little bit of a different story. They had 3 guys have 5+ points in that first round series against Vegas. Kaprizov had 9, Boldy had 7, Hartman had 6. Well, Kaprizov and Boldy both had 5 goals in 6 games, and Bolino also had 3 goals. So compared to some of those Eastern Conference teams who got eliminated, where they barely had someone hit 3 goals, the Wild actually had a couple of really good goal scorers and point producers, but it was not enough in the playoffs to get them past the Golden Knights. So the playoffs, they were a little bit better offensively than the regular season, but it still wasn't enough. Looking at their advanced stats, in the regular season, they had 225 goals for, 25th in the NHL, and 236 goals against, which was tied for 15th in the NHL. So they're in the top half. Goals against wise, sure, you want to see them be in the top 10, maybe a little bit better, but all things considered, not bad goals against wise, but goals for wise, especially without Kaprizov, they were awful. 225, 25th in the NHL. We're nearly a bottom 5 team in the goal scoring department. Like, they are lucky they made the playoffs with how poor of an offensive team they were this year. Meanwhile, on the special teams wise, neither was a strong suit in the regular season. 20.9% on the power play, 20th, 72.4% on the PK, 30th. So the power play was just a little bit subpar. Wasn't atrocious, but even though it was above 20% on the power play, it still wasn't overly great. Penalty kill wise, 30th in the NHL. Like, that's gotta be fixed. Like, that's not good for the Wild. If you look at it from the playoff side of things, they were actually quite good in most stats. They had 3.17 on the goal scoring side, which was 6th, 3.00 on the goals against side, which was tied for 5th, 23.1% on the power play, which was tied for 7th, and 72.2% on the PK, which was 10th. So the penalty kill was the only thing that was subpar in this playoffs. Like, they had a top 8 offense, a top 8 defense, and a top 8 power play. So all things considered, Wild didn't do overly bad on the stats in the playoffs, but in the regular season they were definitely bad, and the penalty kill didn't really do them much in the playoffs either. So interesting note there. They currently have about $16.59 million in cap space for this upcoming offseason. If I look at the 3 reasons I think this team was eliminated: first, not enough goal scoring. This team, like we talked about, even though they were all right in the playoffs, regular season wise, not enough. 25th in the NHL is not going to cut it when you need goal scoring. And I think that's a big reason as why this team was eliminated in the playoffs. Even though they did get a lot of contribution, it was mostly from Kaprizov and Boldy. Their bottom 6 did not contribute a whole bunch. Big reason as to why they were eliminated. Second was terrible PK, both in the regular season and in the playoffs. The penalty kill did not help them at all. They were 30th in the NHL in the regular season, and in the playoffs they were 10th, and they let in too many goals in the power play against Vegas. So all things considered, bad PK was a big reason as to why all were eliminated. And the third was too many blown leads. They had a lead in game 4 but blew it, lost in overtime. They had a lead in game 5, I think, at one point. They blew it, lost in overtime. They led this series 2-1, but they blew it and lost in 6 games. Like, this Wild team had so many chances to put away the Golden Knights and could not, and that was another reason as to why I think they were eliminated. So in my opinion, not enough depth scoring, a terrible penalty kill, and blowing too many leads were the 3 main reasons in my opinion why I think this Wild team missed the playoffs. Next, going over to their UFAs, RFAs, and their draft capital. So not too much here to talk about. So if you look at their UFA side, they have Marcus Johansson, Gustav Nyquist, Brazeau, Boyd, Shore, Madden, and Merrill. Boyd only got into 3 games of NHL action. Madden didn't play at the NHL level. Could see both these guys leave. You had Shore, who had a goal and 5 points in 55 games, and Merrill, who had 2 goals and 6 points in 70 games. Both are decent bottom pairing or bottom 6 forwards or depth guys. I could maybe see me brought back on like short-term deals, but wouldn't be surprised if they left. You have Brazeau, who had 11 goals, 22 points in 76 games, and Nyquist, who had 11 goals and 28 points in 79 games. Both were trade deadline acquisitions. Both were decent bottom 6 guys, but I wouldn't be one bit surprised if they both left. And then you have Marcus Johansson, who had 11 goals and 34 points in 72 games. Worked well as a bottom 6 guy in Minnesota, but once again, I wouldn't be overly shocked if he left and tested free agency. So those are their UFAs, headlined by Johansson and Nyquist. If you look at their RFA side, they have Marco Rossi, Adam Raska, Declan Chisholm, and Ryan O'Rourke. O'Rourke and Raska did not play at the NHL level this year, but both are really good younger players, so I wouldn't be surprised if they were brought back. You have Chisholm, who had 2 goals and 12 points in 66 games. Was a decent third pair defenseman there for the Wild, so I could definitely see him be brought back on a 1 to 2 year deal. And then you have Rossi, who had 24 goals and 60 points in 82 games. I would not be one to be surprised if the Wild tried to re-sign him, but there's a lot of talk about him getting dealt or offer sheeted, so I don't think they're going to lose him for nothing, but I wouldn't be surprised if Rossi still wasn't on the team. So those are the RFAs, headlined by Marco Rossi. If you look at the draft capital for this Wild's team, there's not much here. They have 4 picks for this upcoming draft, which isn't too surprising for a team who made the playoffs. They have their own 2nd round pick, their own 6th round pick, the Jackets 5th and the Leafs 4th, so they have no 7th, no 3rd, no 1st round pick. They have 1 pick in the first 3 rounds. That's not a whole bunch, so once again, it could change before the actual draft happens, but it's not a whole bunch there for the Wild. So they only have 4 draft selections for this upcoming season, which is not overly great, even though they are a team who want to make in the playoffs. And lastly, going over to 5 ways I think this team should improve to get better for next year. The first one has to be adding a top 6 forward. I know Kaprizov was injured a whole bunch, so was Eriksson Ek, but I think adding a top 6 forward is going to be a big thing for this Wild team in this offseason. Like, I think if they could add a top 6 forward to this team, they could make themselves a really lethal unit. I think if they go out, maybe add a guy like Brock Besser, that could be a really good fit there for the Wild, or someone in the trade market. So we're going to have to wait and see on that, but I think adding a top 6 forward is something that the Wild should definitely consider. Adding some bottom 6 veterans are also something I think they should consider. They could lose Johansson, Nyquist, and Brazeau in free agency, and that's a whole bunch of really good depth that they're going to be losing if they do wind up losing all those guys. So I think adding some bottom 6 veterans, whether that be a guy like Armia in Montreal, or a guy like Dodonov in Dallas, guys or somewhat other guys who could be a UFA, or whether that be trying to trade for someone. Like, I think adding some bomb six help would be a smart move there for the Wild. Third thing has to be a Kaprizov extension. He's eligible for an extension on July 1st. That has to be a top priority for the Minnesota Wild. Kaprizov is the heart and soul of this Wild team at this point in time. You lose him, you're going to be losing a whole bunch of production for years to come. So I think signing Kaprizov to a long-term extension has to be priority number 3. Priority number 4 is figure out who this team's backup's going to be. Fleury has now officially retired. They still have Gustafsson signed for one more season, but they need to figure out who's going to be the backup or tandem with Gustafsson. Is it going to be Jesper Wallstedt, who was a top pick a couple of years back, is working out quite well in the AHL, and I wouldn't be one bit surprised if he was the backup to Wallstedt? Or are they going to go out, try and get someone via free agency or in the trade market to try and back up Gustafsson? Like, they have to make this decision. So whether that be keeping Wallstedt the backup to replace Fleury or going out and getting someone to be the backup, the Wild have to figure out who is going to be the backup to Gustafsson. And the 5th thing I think this team should do would be continue to add some younger defensemen. Once again, it's more of a training camp issue than something right now, but whether it be Zeke Bouillon, Carson Lambos, or Ryan O'Rourke, I think adding some more young youth to this blue line would be a smart move. I think they already have some really good defensemen with guys like Faber, Spurgeon, Middleton, and Brodin, but I think if you can add 1 or 2 more younger defensemen, even if they're sort of like a 7th defenseman, I think that would be a very smart move there for the Wild to sort of incorporate some more youth into this team. So in my opinion, adding a top 6 forward such as a guy like Brock Besser or someone in the trade market, adding some bomb 6 vets, especially if they lose the guys who are UFAs on their team, getting Kaprizov on a long-term extension, finding out who their backup is, and adding some more young blue liners are the 5 ways I think this Wild team can improve and maybe, hopefully, end the losing streak and make it past round 1 next year. And lastly, here going over to Los Angeles Kings. So for the Los Angeles Kings, they are one of the top teams to be eliminated in round 1. They had a 48-25-9 record. Were good basically the entire season. Had one of the best home records in the entire NHL. Finished the year with a 104-point total. They were barely a couple of points behind the Knights for the top spot in the Pacific Division. They did finish ahead of the Edmonton Oilers, which is why they got them again. This was a little bit different than years prior. They had home ice advantage over Edmonton. Their home record was really good. They were supposed to beat Edmonton this year. They won the first 2 games at home, actually put Edmonton on the ropes going into game 3, and had leads in game 3 and game 4, scored the first goal in game 5, had an early lead in game 6. They had chance after chance after chance after chance to put the Oilers to bed, whether that be via a sweep in 5 games or whatever you want to say. But they let the Oilers crawl back into this game. The Oilers found their mojo. Picard got hot, and that ended the LA Kings season in 6 games. So it's not that the Kings didn't have an opportunity to end it. They did, but they weren't able to end it against the Edmonton Oilers. So that's how their season ended, losing in 6 games to Edmonton. If you look at their goal scoring and point scoring leaders in the playoffs and regular season, in the regular season, Kempe had 73 points. He was the team leader. Kopitar had 67 and Fiala had 60. Well, Fiala and Kempe both had 35 goals, and Fogle had 24. So they had a couple of really good goal scorers in the 30-plus goal scoring mark in Fiala and Kempe. Kempe also had 70-plus points, so he's going to be en route for a big extension in a year's time, or when he hits free agency, he's going to get a massive raise. But even though they had a couple of 60-plus point players, a couple of 30-plus goal scorers, it was a really good offense, but not the best offense. So it was all right there for the Kings. Well, in the playoffs, they probably were the best offensive output team who did not make it past round 1. They had 10 points from Kempe, 9 points from Kopitar, 8 points from the No. All were above a point per game pace. They had 4 goals from Adrian Kempe, well, 3 goals from Kuzmenko, Byfield, and Fiala. There were a couple of teams in the Eastern Conference who were lucky to get 1 3-goal scorer in the playoffs. The Kings had 4. So the Kings were really good. They had a double-digit point player in the playoffs. In Kempe, he only played 6 games. So offensively, this team was fantastic in the playoffs, but they still weren't able to get by the Edmonton Oilers. Going over to some more of their advanced stats, goal scoring wise, they had 249 goals for, which was 14th in NHL, and they had 203 goals against, which was 2nd in the NHL. They had the top 2 ranked defense, only behind the Winnipeg Jets. The Kings were stellar all season long along defensively. Offensively, they were in the top half. Like I said, it wasn't the greatest. It wasn't a top 10 unit, but it wasn't overly bad either. Power play wise in the regular season was awful. 17.9% on the power play, which was 27th in the NHL, while the PK was actually quite good in the regular season. 81.4%, which was 8th in the NHL. So all in all, their goal scoring wise was in the top half. Their penalty kill was top 10. Their goals against was top 3. The only really sour point of the regular season of their stats was their power play, which absolutely sucked. But that was flipped on its head in the playoffs. Their goal scoring wise in the playoffs, they have the top ranked goals for per game wise in the playoffs, scoring 4.00 goals per game. They have the 16th ranked goals against, which was 4.50. They had the best ranked power play in the playoffs right now with a 40% power play unit. Well, they have the worst ranked penalty kill unit at 61.5%. So their goal scoring and their power play is the best in the playoffs right now, while their goals against and their penalty kill are the worst in the playoffs. Their strong suit from the regular season cost them in the playoffs, and that's a huge reason as to why this team missed the playoffs. So those are their advanced stats. They currently have $21.71 million in cap space for this upcoming offseason. 3 reasons I think this team was eliminated. 1, could not hold leads. They had a 2-0 series lead in the series. They had a 4-3 lead entering the third period. In Game 3, they had a 3-1 lead in Game 4. They had a 1-0 lead in Game 5. They had a 1-0 and 2-1 lead in Game 6. Like, they had so many opportunities to put the Oilers to bed. You hold on to the lead in Game 3, you're up 3-0. Say you lose that game, you hold on to the lead in Game 4, you're going back home up 3-1. Like, they had chance after chance, just like the Wild, to end the series and couldn't. That's the first reason they were eliminated. Second reason was the penalty kill collapse. It was one of their strong suits from the regular season. They had a top 10 penalty kill unit. It was 81.4%. That went down to 61.5%. The first 2 games, they were shutting down the Oilers power play. The last 4 games, the Edmonton Oilers power play ran right all over the LA Kings. So all in all, the penalty kill collapsing in the playoffs was a big reason. And the third one was they forgot how to defend. It's just as simple as that. Kemper did all he could in a whole bunch of games, and this team just forgot how to defend. They gave up 3+ goals to Edmonton in each and every one of their games that they played in. So given that fact and given all those stats, like, the defending on this team, which was a top 2 unit in the regular season, collapsed. It absolutely collapsed. They forgot how to defend, and that's another reason as to why this team got eliminated in round 1. So in my opinion, not being able to hold on to leads, the penalty kill collapsing, and forgetting how to defend were the 3 main reasons, in my opinion, the Kings were eliminated in round 1. If you look at the team's UFAs and RFAs, there are a couple of bigger ones here, but not a whole bunch of UFAs and RFAs. They have Andrei Kuzmenko, Trevor Lewis, Tanner Jeannot, Samuel Fagemo, Gavrikov, Jones, Copley, and Riddick. Copley played in 1 game in relief in the regular season at 4.37 GAA, 833 save percentage. He's the decent third stringer. Could maybe see him be brought back. You have Riddick, who had a 16-14-2 record with a 2.84 GAA, 887 save percentage. Not awful, but I wouldn't be surprised if Riddick tested for agency. You have Caleb Jones, who had 6 games of NHL action, and Samuel Fagemo, who did not play the NHL level. I think both these guys will probably leave. You have Lewis, who had 6 goals and 12 points in 60 games. You know, who had 7 goals and 13 points in 67 games. Both are really good bottom 6 forwards. I could see the Kings try and bring one or both of those guys back, but wouldn't be surprised if they tested for agency. You have Andrei Kuzmenko, who had 11 goals and 37 points in 66 games. Fit in fabulously with Los Angeles after being acquired. Now, Kuzmenko doesn't do too well after his first stint with his new team, so I wouldn't be one bit surprised if Kuzmenko tested for agency, but if it's on a lower end deal, I could see Los Angeles try and bring him back. And you have Gavrikov, who had 5 goals and 30 points in 82 games. Really solid top 4 defenseman. Wouldn't be one bit surprised if the Kings tried to bring him back, but with the low amount of free agent defensemen, I wouldn't be surprised if he tested for agency. So those are the UFAs headlined by Gavrikov and Kuzmenko. RFA-wise, they have Alex Laferriere and Martin Chromiak. Both are decent guys. Chromiak's a top prospect. Laferriere had 19 goals, 42 points in 77 games. They expect both those guys to be brought back. Laferriere probably on like a 3 to 5 year deal at like $4 to $5 million. So interesting note there, those are the UFAs and RFAs for the Kings. They currently have 7 draft selections for this upcoming season, which is quite good for a team who actually made the playoffs. They have their 1st round pick, 3rd round pick, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th round pick, as well as the Flyers 7th round pick. So they have no 2nd round pick and an extra 7th round pick. So not any top end level draft selections for this LA Kings team, but they do have a 1st and a 3rd round pick, which is pretty good for a team who wound up making the playoffs. So interesting note there, but the Kings do have an average amount you expect a team to have in 7 picks for this upcoming draft. And the last thing is 5 ways I can see this team improving in the offseason to get better for next year. First priority, add a solid top 6 forward. They did not do it at the trade deadline. They could have gone after a guy like Mikko Rantanen, Brad Marchand. They wound up going after Andrei Kuzmenko, and even though Kuzmenko fit in fantastically in the LA Kings, he wasn't the difference maker that this Kings team needs. Now, they already have a really good forward group, but I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe moved off of 1 or 2 guys and then tried to maybe go out in free agency, Adam Marner or a Besser or an Ehlers. I think the Kings are going to be in on all 3 of those top end guys. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to trade market Kreider, Zegras, Barzal if he's available. Like, I think the Kings are going to go big game hunting for a top 6 forward this offseason, and that's, I think, priority number 1. Priority number 2 has to be either keep Gavrikov or add a top for the defenseman. It's one of the things that the Kings has to do. They weren't great defensively this year. Gavrikov fit in quite well with the Los Angeles Kings, so I would think that they would probably want to go after him, try and re-sign him first. But if they can't, then add a top for the defenseman, whether it be like a guy like Provorov or Ekblad or someone else via the trade market. But I think adding a top 4 defenseman or keeping Gavrikov has to be priority number 2. Priority number 3 is sort of decide who's going to be a backup. Do they bring back Riddick? Do they maybe re-sign Copley to be a backup? Do they try and have Portillo, who's their young up-and-coming goaltender, be their backup to Kemper next year? Or do they try and go out in free agency, maybe add someone who can be the backup? So we'll have to wait and see on that. But they have to decide if Portillo or Riddick or someone in free agency or via the trade market will be their backup to Kemper next year. 4th has to be extend Kempe. The way Kempe played in this year's playoffs, you've got to extend him. At this point, I think he's making, what, $5-ish million on his deal at this point. So I think adding Kempe and keeping him on a long-term extension will be a smart move there for Los Angeles to do this offseason. So I think extending Kempe has to be priority number 4. And priority number 5 is consider moving some of their prospects. They have a boatload of top-end prospects, and guys like Akil Thomas and Alex Turcotte are barely getting time at the NHL level for the LA Kings. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if they moved off some of these top-end talent prospects and maybe try and get some immediate help, like maybe move off a prospect or a pick here and try and package something to try and get some more major help immediately. So we're going to have to wait and see on that, but in my opinion, adding a solid top 6 forward, either keeping Gavrikov or adding a top 4 defenseman, figuring out who the backup is, extending Adrian Kempe not too far after he's eligible for it, and considering moving some of their top prospects are the 5 ways I can see this Kings team improving in the offseason to maybe finally make it past round 1 for the first time since 2014 when they won the Cup. So definitely, that's my opinion what the Kings should do. So that's my opinion on the Kings in the Wild. That's what I think they should do in the offseason. Those are the UFA's, RFA's draft capital and their stats from this past year. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Are you surprised that the Kings and Wild have gone so long without winning in the first round? Are you surprised by that? And do you agree with me about what they should do in the offseason to get better and maybe finally end this drought and make it past round 1 next year? Definitely your thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below. That's all I'm going to talk for today. Remember to like this video, and for that, subscribe below. Thank you for all of your support. I would never be able to without you guys, so if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below. Don't forget to comment and really just help with the channel. We're on the road to 500 subscribers. I also do a blog to make news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that, so check that out. I've linked it in the description below. Can't wait to see you guys all for the next video. See you guys soon.